Hello dear students. Today, we will learn about a poem called Break, Break, Break. It is written by Alfred Lord Tennyson, a famous poet from England. This poem is short but powerful because it talks about deep feelings. The poet shares his sadness and talks about how time and life keep moving forward, even when we are feeling pain. Introduction to the poem. The title of the poem is Break, Break, Break. What does the word break mean here? It is not about something being broken like a glass or a toy. In this poem, break refers to the sound of the waves crashing against the rocks. It is the poet's way of describing the constant movement and sound of the sea. This poem was written by Alfred Lord Tennyson in the year 1835. Tennyson wrote this poem when he was very sad. One of his close friends, Arthur Hallam, had passed away. Losing a friend made Tennyson feel very lonely and heartbroken. In this poem, he expresses his sadness and grief. At the same time, he observes the world around him and notices how nature and life go on, even when he is unhappy. Now, we will look at the poem line by line, and I will explain its meaning clearly. Break, break, break. On thy cold grey stones, O sea. And I would that my tongue could utter the thoughts that arise in me. The poet starts by repeating the word break 3 times, break, break, break. He is talking to the sea and telling it to crash its waves against the rocks. The rocks are described as cold and gray. This makes us feel that the place looks lonely and sad, just like the poet's heart. In the next line, he says, and I would that my tongue could utter. This means that the poet wishes he could express what he is feeling. The word utter means to speak or say something. The poet is so full of sadness that he cannot even find the right words to describe his feelings. The last line of the stanza says, the thoughts that arise in me. This means that many thoughts are coming into the poet's mind, but he is unable to express them clearly. His sadness is so great that it feels too much to say out loud. So, in the first stanza, we understand that the poet is standing near the sea, feeling very sad, and thinking about his deep emotions. He wants to share his feelings, but he finds it difficult to speak. Oh, well for the fisherman's boy that he shouts with his sister at play. Oh, well for the sailor lad that he sings in his boat on the bay. The poet describes the people around him. He notices a fisherman's boy playing with his sister and shouting joyfully. He also sees a young sailor singing in his boat. The poet uses the phrase oh, well for, which means that these people are lucky to be happy and carefree. The poet compares his own sadness with the happiness of others. He sees children playing and sailors singing, but he cannot join them because his heart is full of grief. The poet shows us that while life goes on and people enjoy their moments, he feels stuck in his sorrow. These lines also remind us that life is full of contrasts. Some people feel happy and carefree, while others feel sad and lonely. The poet's observations make his sadness feel even deeper because he cannot share the joy that he sees in others. And the stately ships go on to their haven under the hill. But oh for the touch of a vanished hand, and the sound of a voice that is still. In these lines, the poet talks about the ships that sail on the sea. The word stately means grand or majestic. These ships are described as moving towards their haven, which means a safe place, like a harbor. The ships are calm and steady as they reach their destination. This image of the moving ships shows that life and time keep moving forward, no matter what happens. But in the next 2 lines, the poet's emotions take over. He says, but oh for the touch of a vanished hand. The word vanished means something that is gone or disappeared. The poet is talking about his lost friend. He misses the touch of his friend's hand and the sound of his voice. When he says, the sound of a voice that is still, he means the voice of his friend, which he will never hear again. These lines show us how deeply the poet misses his friend. The moving ships remind him that life continues, but he feels stuck because he cannot forget the pain of losing someone he loved. Break, break, break. At the foot of thy crags, O sea. But the tender grace of a day that is dead will never come back to me. The poet repeats the words break, break, break again. He is still addressing the sea and asking it to crash against the crags, which are steep, rocky cliffs. The poet uses the sea's constant movement to show that nature keeps going on, even when he feels so much sadness. In the last two lines, he says, "But the tender grace of a day that is dead will never come back to me." The word tender means gentle or soft, and grace means beauty or charm. When the poet says a day that is dead, he is talking about the past, especially the happy days he spent with his friend. He feels that those beautiful and joyful moments are gone forever, and they will never return. The poem ends on a very sad note. The poet accepts that life will move on, but he will always feel the pain of his loss. Themes of the poem. A theme is the central message or idea in a piece of writing. One important theme in this poem, Break, 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 is grief. Grief is the feeling of deep sadness when someone you love dies or leaves. The poet expresses his grief through his words and through the images of the sea and nature. Another theme is the passage of time. The poet notices that time does not stop for anyone. The sea waves keep breaking, the ships keep sailing, and people keep living their lives. This reminds us that life continues, even when we feel stuck in our sadness. The poem also shows the theme of memory. The poet remembers his friend and the happy times they shared. These memories are precious to him, but they also make him feel sad because he knows he cannot relive them. Imagery in the poem. In this poem, the poet uses a lot of imagery. Imagery is when a writer uses words to create pictures in our minds. For example, the image of the waves breaking on the rocks helps us imagine the sound and movement of the sea. The image of the fisherman's boy playing with his sister shows us a happy, lively moment. The image of the ships sailing to their haven makes us think about life moving steadily forward. These images are very powerful because they make the poet's feelings come alive. When we read the poem, we can almost hear the sea, see the children playing, and feel the poet's sadness. Mood of the poem. The mood of a poem is the feeling it creates in the reader. In this poem, Break, 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 the mood is very sad and reflective. The poet's grief is clear in every line, and we feel his pain as we read his words. However, the poem also has a peaceful and calm feeling because of the images of nature, like the waves and the ships. Conclusion. To summarize, Break, Break, Break is a poem about grief, time, and memory. Alfred Lord Tennyson wrote this poem after losing his close friend, and his sadness is clear in every line. Through images of the sea, children, and ships, the poet shows us how life moves on, even when we feel great pain. The poem is full of powerful emotions and teaches us that it is okay to feel sad but also important to remember the beauty of the past. I hope this explanation has made the poem clear to you. Remember, if you are preparing for an exam, focus on the main themes, the imagery, and the emotions in the poem. Thank you for watching, and good luck with your studies.